It's Friday, December 22nd, 2017. It's that time of the hour for your favorite NFL and college football program. Welcome to a special Christmas Week 16 edition of the Blitz Zone. Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Rosen, and I'm coming to you live from the studios of CTV in Staten Island, New York. As you can see on my head right here is a awesome New York Jets Santa hat. Well, I think it's awesome. Depends on if you're a fan of the team or if you're against the team. But the really important message is Christmas. It's the best time of the year to celebrate with your family, friends, loved ones. And, yes, there are presents under the tree. But also, just like Thanksgiving, it's another day just to count our blessings, to be alive, to thrive, to be able to work every day, but also to think about those, to help those who may not have as much, giving whatever you can, whether it's a coat, a toy, or anything just to help make their lives whole, or helping an organization like the Salvation Army, giving some money to them, or, toys for tots, or I mentioned earlier, a coat for somebody who can't afford one, especially in this time of the year, winter, where it's so brutally cold outside. But overall, it's just, love. Just love this holiday. I'm just going to close the door for 1 second. And I'm going to take my hat off right now. My hair may not be as, might be a little messy right now. But no, in all seriousness, it's a special time of the year. It can be stressful, I'll admit, especially when it comes to trying to buy gifts. But really, it's just about that connection with people. And just being with the people that, that you love the most in this world and helping others. And that's really just what the holiday is in a nutshell. I know for very religious people, it is about the birthday of Jesus Christ. I'm not going to lie, it is about that too. But, the theme about it, to me, is just love and family and just being together. All right, I'm going to stop rambling on because, knowing me right now, I might go into a huge rant. So I don't want to do that to you folks. And this is, after all, a football show. So let's get into some football news, that is. Right now, currently, Jerry Richardson, who was the first ex-NFL player to own a team, that is the Carolina Panthers, when they came into business in, I believe it was 1995. That's right. Well, now he's going to be selling the team after allegations of workplace misconduct came out last Sunday, or actually last weekend. So therefore, Jerry decided he's going to put the team up for sale. Who is going to be the owners? We're already hearing about P. Diddy, or Sean Puff Daddy Combs, or Sean Combs, wherever he likes to call himself in this day and age, really doesn't matter to me. He wanted to buy the team with the sole purpose of putting Colin Kaepernick in. You do realize there is a quarterback. His name is Cameron Newton. He brought your team within a victory of the Super Bowl 2 years ago. He was the Rookie of the Year in 2011. He was a Heisman Trophy winner at Auburn University. I don't know if you heard, Sean, but that, I'm all for, hey, Colin Kaepernick maybe given another chance with another team, because look at the other quarterbacks in the league. I'm not saying that Kaepernick is the most elite quarterback, but compared to some of the other quarterbacks in the league, he's 10 times better. And there are teams that honestly could use him. All right, let's not forget the Miami Dolphins maybe will take a look at him next year. I'm assuming they will. And then you have teams like the Cleveland Browns. It can't do any worse. You've had 28 quarterbacks in your graveyard. Why not add Colin to that 29th graveyard? Maybe he'll revitalize that team from the dead that has been 1-30 these past 2 years. The Cincinnati, maybe as a backup for the Bengals, not as a starter though. But I don't see him with the Panthers. That would create such a quarterback controversy, and the fans would be so displeased in Charlotte, North Carolina. There's no way that they're going to take that gamble whatsoever. So, Sean, You don't even have the money anyway to come up. You need at least $1 billion. He would have to, even if he liquidated his assets, it still wouldn't be enough money to own an NFL team. He would have to go in with several business partners in order to make this an actual venture. But if you're going to able to pull off some investors, don't do it for the sole purpose of screwing over Cam Newton, all right? He's your franchise. He's your starting quarterback. That's it. If you're going to own the team. Otherwise, let somebody else who will run the team better without controversy buy the Carolina Panthers. And it won't be our president because he's too busy in the Oval Office right now. I know there are some people who were saying for our current president to do so. No, he's got too much on his plate with what he's got going on in the White House. So I'm sorry. So that's not going to happen. As for Mark Cuban, I could actually see Mark Cuban doing this. I think he would be the best owner for the Carolina Panthers. He's got the money in place. He's got the experience of being with a franchise team. Yes, the NBA, but still, I think he can translate his knowledge from working with the Dallas Mavericks over to the Carolina Panthers. And he's good in the South as well, with teams in the South. Right there, I think he'd be the perfect owner for this organization. So mark my words, Cuban, I think, will be the next owner in the NFL. Granted, he'll have a lot on his plate, but this is a guy who thrives with a lot on his plate. All right. As for some other news right here, speaking of owners, Vince McMahon, owner of WWE Entertainment, just sold 3.4 million shares of his company, which equals to about $100 million, in order to have the money set aside for the potential revitalization of an old league. That's right, folks. We might be seeing the second coming of the XFL, the one-year failed organization that tried every which way to compete with the NFL, and like every other organization that has come up before the XFL to compete with the National Football League has died. So please, just keep the XFL where it should be, buried 20 feet under, not back from the dead. I'm sorry, this is just fool's gold. No, it's not even gold. It's just a fool's idea whatsoever. Stick to what you do best. Having choreographed, scripted fights, and yes, the occasional, and unfortunately there's some real injuries that take place in WWE, but stick to wrestling and revitalizing the creative team with WWE and making better storylines, not another failed attempt at a football league. We saw this movie before. We know how it ends. So I'm just saying, Vince, you could do other things with that money. Why not give it to other charities or organizations like St. Jude's Children's Research? They could use that money. Give it to third world countries that need. Give it to parts of this country that have people who are poor, people who are sick, people who can't find housing, veterans, anything that's worthwhile than another failed attempt at a football league. I don't mean to be a pessimist, but I think you can find other ways, better ways to use that money. But again, like earlier, I'm not going to try and rant any more than I already have. Let's go into what we always do every single week, and that is the playoff picture in the AFC and NFC side of things. Because after all, we're in the final 2 weeks, and this is the time where teams are really going to make that push to get those 12 coveted spots into the postseason. Here we go. On the AFC side, the number one seed at the moment, the New England Patriots, virtue of their 27-24 victory over the Steelers, now the AFC East champs for the 9th year in a row. The number 2 seed, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the unfortunate losers of that game, 27-24 to the Patriots, but they were a touchdown shy or a touchdown overturned from winning that game. But they still are in the number 2 seed at the moment. The Jacksonville Jaguars, for the first time since 2007, have clinched a postseason spot, but not the AFC South yet. They need a victory this week, or they need a Tennessee loss at 1 o'clock against the LA Rams in order for that to happen with 2 games left. And the Kansas City Chiefs, fresh off their 30-13 victory last Saturday at home against the LA Chargers, now need a victory this coming Sunday against the visiting Dolphins at Arrowhead to clinch the AFC West Championship. And the Titans and the Bills still have the wild card spots 8-6, 5 for the seed for the Titans, 6 for the Bills. Can the Bills end the longest playoff drought in currently in North American sports history at 17 years? The last time they played was the Music City Miracle game against the aforementioned Titans. In the hunt at the moment are the Ravens at 8-6, though with several tiebreakers, they could actually leap over the Bills because of record among common opponents at the end of the season. The Chargers right now need to win throughout the season, being at 9-7, and hope for a loss by the Bills in the final 2 weeks because of the tiebreaker the Chargers had over the Bills. Remember the infamous Nathan Peterman 5-interception first half meltdown of epic proportions. That was 57-14. Or their victory over the Titans. That could play a factor. The Raiders and the Dolphins are both at 6-8. They need to win their final 2 games, and they need a lot of help in scenarios to play out, which, I'll be honest, I'm very doubtful that will take place. The teams unfortunately eliminated are the New York Jets, Bengals, and Broncos at 5-9. The Jets right now are looking, towards next year without Josh McCown. Unfortunately, he had a broken hand in the Broncos game, but you got to give it up to Petty. He did some good things in the New Orleans Saints game, but he caused some major mistakes that he's going to have to fix. The Bengals right now have pretty much waved the white flag, and Marvin Lewis, as reported by Adam Schefter of ESPN this past Sunday, it's announced that Lewis will be leaving the Bengals at the end of the season. The Broncos, Vance Joseph, his fate will be decided probably by Elway at the end of the year. The Texans at 4-10, speaking of fates being decided, Bill O'Brien, who knows if his tenure will continue with this Texans team. And it's not all his fault. You look at the injuries with Deshaun Watson, Deonta Foreman, the injuries to both J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless on the defense, Will Fuller. The list goes on and on that MASH ward, and that's why they won't be winning their 3rd straight division title this year. The Colts right now at 3-11, the card that they had to be dealt with was not having Andrew Luck, and he may, with reports out there, he may require another shoulder surgery. It's not good. And, of course, the pitiful 0-14 Browns. That's all I have on that. Now, on the NFC side of things, the Philadelphia Eagles already clinched the NFC, but now have a first-round bye. If they win this week on Monday night, Christmas night against the visiting Raiders, or Vikings loss on Saturday night in Lambeau against the Packers, the Eagles can clinch home field advantage throughout the playoffs with only a week left in the season. The Vikings right now have clinched the NFC North Championship, but they're looking to get a first-round bye. They need a victory this week at Lambeau in that 1-degree weather, because you know how Green Bay is known for their fine weather in November and December. Bring 4 or 5 layers if you ever go to Lambeau at this time of year. I'm just saying, especially 1-degree weather, yikes. I feel bad for the fans already. But you know what? They're passionate fans who don't care what the weather is, and despite the fact their team is officially eliminated, they will still be there with all their pride and all their fandom ready to see their beloved Cheeseheads hopefully win a game, or this coming week against the visiting NFC North Vikings. The Rams right now, as I mentioned, will be in Tennessee this week. They're leading the NFC West. They need either a victory or a Seahawks loss in order to clinch the NFC West for the first time since 2003 when they were the St. Louis Rams. The Saints right now, after 3 consecutive 7-9 seasons, now lead the NFC South with 2 weeks to go. And they got the Panthers and the Falcons nipping at their heels. Or Jack Frost nipping at their nose. But the Saints will have the Falcons visiting them in the Big Easy this coming week. If the Falcons win, then they will go into Week 17 with only a victory they need in order to clinch the NFC South with their fate in their own hands. However, if the Falcons win and sweep the Saints and then beat the Panthers Week 17, the Falcons can win their 2nd straight division title. The Panthers could win the division if both the Falcons, with the Falcons and Saints loss and some other scenarios. And in the hunt right now, you got the Lions, Seahawks, and Cowboys all at 8-6. The Seahawks and the Cowboys actually play each other late Sunday 4:25 game at Jerry World. That could determine who will go on in the race for the playoffs and whose season will pretty much end right then and there. And the Packers, as I mentioned earlier, have been eliminated from contention, along with the 6-8 Redskins and Cardinals. The Buccaneers, 49ers, and Bears at 4-10. 49ers, one of the hottest teams in football besides the Cowboys, with 3 straight victories. Garoppolo, first time since Y.A. Tittle to win his first 3 starts, 1951-52. That's awesome right there. And the New York Giants, the number 2 seeded team in terms of the draft positioning behind the Browns. And here's the thing, Cleveland. All you have to do this week is what you've done for the previous 14 games. Lose. Lose this week. You're guaranteed the number 1 overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft. That's all you got to do. And you have to do it in Chicago this week. Can't be that hard for you, Cleveland. You always find ways to lose. Now, let's go into the recapping of the past week that was, Week 15 in the NFL. The Arizona Cardinals go into Washington. Anthony Lanier gets a huge sack, including forcing a fumble that Preston Smith recovers. How about Lanier and Gabbard both batting down 3 passes and 2 sacks on the day for the Redskins defense. Coppery Biggs, the running back that just came off the practice squad, getting a touchdown catch from Kirk Cousins along with Jameson Crowder. They end up winning the game 2015. The Cardinals tried their best. They were at the Washington 21. An incomplete pass and 4th down by Blaine Gabbert ended their chances. And they had more total yards than the Redskins. This was a game, it pretty much ended the Cardinals' chances at a postseason berth. And for the Redskins, they're just fighting to get to 500 these last 2 weeks. The next game right on the docket, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Raymond James Monday night, being visited by NFC South rivals, the Atlanta Falcons, and Devonta Freeman has the performance of the century, having over 194, having about 194 all-purpose yards on the night, 126 of those on the ground running the ball. And yet, both Jameis and Matt Ryan, neither had an interception. And here's the situation to follow up on. So it's 24-21 Falcons. Buccaneers have a chance to either tie the game or go for the victory. They get the ball at their own 29. They drive to the Atlanta 36. Patrick Murray, the place kicker for the Buccaneers, comes up with a chance to win. 54-yard field goal to tie the game. What does he do as time expires? Sails it wide right. Bucs lose 24-21. Falcons still in the race for the NFC South. Buccaneers, just a disappointing, hyped season from Hard Knocks. Well, talk about the life of Hard Knocks, the school of Hard Knocks they've been now accustomed to on this season. And I need a little something to drink. That's what happens when you do so much talking on the show. You definitely need to keep hydrating yourself. Well, anyway, continuing Week 15, we got the Baltimore Ravens visiting the clowns of the AFC North, the Cleveland Browns. They really are clowns. Every single week, it astonishes me how many superlatives I've run out of to describe this team. But I'm going to try and find one more. Now, the Cleveland Browns, or a.k.a. the Dog Pound, and finally, this was the last game at this place. I honestly didn't even like the name the Dog Pound, but that's what they call it. And these idiots, find a way to lose. It just amazes me how bad this team is with this head coach. 1-29 in 2 years, a 33 winning percentage, but nonetheless, they're still keeping Hugh Jackson. When there are coaches who have more wins than him are being fired. I'm failing to find the logic in that, Cleveland. Please, John Dorsey, new GM, help me understand why. After all, the Ravens come into town. Not only does Flacco get a 2-yard rushing touchdown on the day, but he throws a 33-yard pass to Benjamin Watson. And this is the kicker. The Ravens are only up 17-10. Actually, at one point in the game, Kaiser has a chance to actually get a touchdown to tie the game, and he gets the ball batted out of his hands in the end zone by Zadarius Smith, recovered by Brandon Williams. And instead of it being a 17-all game, ends up turning into a 24-10 fiesta for the Ravens. They win 27-10. The Ravens are fighting for their chance in the playoffs. They have 2 really easy opponents coming up with the Colts and Bengals these final 2 weeks. All they got to do is win these last 2 games. And with some help And even if the Bills have the same record, I think they will actually leap over them because of record amongst common opponents. Now, speaking of the Buffalo Bills, they had the visiting Miami Dolphins. They're fresh off their Monday night upset of the New England Patriots, where they held the Pats to 0-11 on third down. You would think that the Dolphins would repeat that type of performance against Buffalo. Well, I thought wrong, because the true Jay Cutler stepped up. And by stepping up, I mean he threw 3 interceptions and had 4 fumbles. Thank God none of them were lost. But still, to have that many turnovers and to see LaShawn McCoy go to make mincemeat of the Dolphins' pitiful rush defense, he scored twice on them. He had a nice 50 yards rushing on the day, had a nice 9-yard rushing touchdown to cap the opening drive. Then he gets a big 16-yard catch with about 6:05 left in the second quarter to make it 14-6. Despite, Kenyon Drake, who's done a really great job, including getting a 1-yard rushing touchdown on the day, it couldn't overcome the amount of mistakes that Jay Cutler had. Dolphins lose to the Bills 24-16. Packers, the return of Aaron Rodgers after an 8-game absence with that broken right collarbone on October 15th against the Vikings, courtesy of Anthony Barr's hit on him that day. Well, which literally changed the entire landscape of the NFC North and football itself. And unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers, after all the weeks he was on the shelf, threw 3 interceptions, but nearly got them in the game. Let's set it up. It's 14-10. The Packers have a lead going into the second half. Cameron Newton, of course, is never going to lie dead. He comes back with a vengeance, throwing to Greg Olsen, who, by the way, had a great 116-yard performance of 9 catches. This was a guy who had a broken foot earlier in the season and yet is back at the most critical time of the season. So I'm really happy for Greg, and he was on my fantasy team. Thank you, Greg, for those points, by the way. So Greg Olsen gets a touchdown. Then Damiere Byrd gets a 9-yard grab in the back of the end zone. Initially ruled incomplete, but then Ron Rivera decides to challenge the call, and upon review, the referee saw, or at least New York saw, that Damiere Byrd had his backside inbounds in the end zone, so they overturned the original call, touchdown, 24-10 lead, 24-14 lead for the Panthers. Green Bay gets a field goal by Mason Crosby, making it 24-17. But then Damiere Byrd strikes again with a slant pass, making it 31-17. Richard Rodgers to Rodgers takes place, making it 31-24 Panthers. Packers go for the onside kick. They recover it. They get a chance to tie the game up. Aaron Rodgers throws a completed pass to Geronimo Allison. He gets to the Carolina 28. James Bradbury strips the ball out of his hand, recovered by safety Mike Adams of the Panthers defense. And with about 1:48 to go, Panthers run out the clock. They win 31-24. And now it looks like Rodgers is going to be on the shelf for the rest of the season because they were officially eliminated. So there's really no point in having their franchise QB get hurt and not play the rest of the year. As for the Packers, and as for the Panthers, they continue on. Bears going to Detroit on Saturday, early 4 o'clock afternoon game. Matthew Stafford throws big touchdown passes, 3-yard T.J. Jones, an 8-yard Eric Ebron to make it 20-3. Mitchell Trubisky gets a touchdown pass to, of all people, Benny Cunningham from 9 yards out with about 2:32 to go in the game, making it 20-10 Lions. The Bears eventually get the ball back at their own 6-yard line 25 seconds later. They're able to move the ball to the Detroit 25 with a chance to at least make it a 3-point game. And what happens? Darius Slay gets the second interception of the day to end Trubisky and the Bears' chance at a victory. Bears lose to the Lions 20-10. Bengals go into Minnesota. Teacher versus the student. That's right, Mike Zimmer, former coordinator under Marvin Lewis, the now, will be soon to be former head coach of the Bengals, but still current head coach at the moment. Well, nonetheless, Mike Zimmer and company have done what they've done best throughout the year. Win. They won 8 straight, and now they won yet another game, and they clinched the NFC North with a 34-7 victory. Eric Kendricks on the defense gets a pick 6. Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon, both great on the ground, and combined yards, 237, 242 yards from scrimmage, and 37 touches altogether. Teddy Bridgewater even made his first appearance in 16 months from that massive knee injury. Terrence Newman, the former cornerback for the Bengals, even picks off his former quarterback, Andy Dalton. Dalton, of course, had 113 yards on the day. It was a sad performance for him. And with all the injuries they had to overcome, 34-7. Bengals lose to the Vikings. Cowboys go into Oakland on Sunday night. Both teams needing a victory to continue their slim playoff hopes. And the Cowboys, on a insane 4th down play, and I mean, this is just kind of bananas right here. You think about it. They're 4th and 1 at their own 39. The game is tied at 17-all. Dak Prescott goes for a quarterback sneak, and the referee still cannot determine if it was a first down. They tried every single which way with the beginning of the chain and the tip of the ball, and all it took was an index card. This is 2017. With all the tablets out there and these boogie boards, which I got a nice little gift from Eileen Hopkins from Eden. Thank you so much for this. This is the best gift, one of the best gifts. Thank you. It was really awesome. And, with technology like that, smartphones, everything out there, you would think they would be able to solve this dilemma. And yet they use 20th century techniques, an index card. Then they rule the first down. Dan Bailey goes to the go-ahead 19-yard field goal. It's never over. The Raiders get the ball back. And Jordan Lewis on the Cowboys defense gives a giant gift to the Raiders. After all, this is the season of giving. And he gave a 43-yard pass interference play to the Raiders offense on 4th and 10 from the 30. Nice job going there, Jordan. Nice to help the opposing team and be charitable in that instant, or stupid by your own team's standard. Anyway, Derek Carr, then a few plays later, Raiders are at the Cowboys 8. It's 3rd and 3. Derek Carr gets the ball, scrambles to his right. Looks like he's about to get the go-ahead touchdown. Unfortunately, the ball comes loose from his hands before it gets to the goal line. And he loses the ball in the end zone, ruled a touchback. Cowboys get the ball back at their own 25 and run out the clock. Cowboys beat the Raiders 20-17. Texans going to Jacksonville. Blake Bortles, 3 touchdowns, 2 of them to Jaden Mickens. Jaden Mickens, one of the best storylines of the season. This was a practice squad wide receiver who slept in his car in the Everbank Field parking lot. That is, of course, the home stadium of the Jacksonville Jaguars. In September and October, when he didn't know if this was going to last, his tenure with the Jaguars, just to save money. Ever since Marquise Lee was injured, he came in his place and has made some amazing plays. Remember, he had that 45-yard zigzag play in one game, and he had 2 touchdowns in this performance, helping the Jaguars to their first postseason berth since 2007. And now they're just a game away from clinching a division title. Congratulations, Shane. Great story. And the fact that the last 6 years, they were an NFL worst 22-74 in the previous 6 years. They were the laughing stock, the joke, like the Browns. But this time they went from being zeros to heroes this year. My hat is off to them. Great defense. Good running on the ground from Leonard Fournette, even though he was injured in this game. But the fact of the matter remains, this Jaguars team is firing all cylinders. They win 45-7. The Texans, though, are just a complete, utter mess. Chargers, Chiefs, Saturday night in Arrowhead. The Chargers, unfortunately, have a chance to win. They're up 17-13. Now, they're up 13-10, actually, after beginning the second half with a nice drive from Philip Rivers, going 5-5 for 88 yards, concluding with a touchdown to his good friend Antonio Gates. The only lead of the game, the Chiefs end up scoring 20 unanswered points with a 69-yard drive, eventually with Kareem Hunt scoring 17-13, 2 more field goals by Harrison Butker, and then another touchdown. Chiefs beat the Chargers 30-13. Marcus Peters returning from his one-game in-team suspension, has 2 interceptions on the day in the second half. And also the fumble by the Chargers by Austin Eckler didn't help either. Chargers need a lot of help. This was a team that started 0-4 and then won 7 of their next 9 going into this game. And now they need to basically win. They have to